All right, and we are back with the panel, and we want your participation. As always, 877 Newsmax, 877-639-7629. And joining us on the panel today, Allyn Root, former Libertarian vice presidential nominee, best-selling author, syndicated columnist, Trump supporter, and his new one is Angry White Male. And Peter Morici joins us, syndicated columnist, economist at the University of Maryland. Okay, gentlemen, let me start with you, Wayne. And we have this this report today. I just think it's to deflect and to take everybody's mind off of the latest WikiLeaks and the devastating nature of them. And we hear that Joe Biden, who famously wants to beat up Donald Trump, is on her short list to be Secretary of State. Any credence to that, you think?
I'm sure it is. They have to reward loyal foot soldiers, and Joe Biden is perfect for Hillary and the Democratic Party, because if you go back in history, every single prediction and every single recommendation he's ever made about foreign affairs has been horribly wrong. So he's perfect for Hillary. Everything he's ever said has been wrong and gone wrong, and that matches Hillary exactly in her tenure as Secretary of State. So good luck. America will be in great shape.
Well, Peter, there is one accomplishment in foreign policy that Hillary, in 2010, she sat down on Russian TV and said, we want to make Russia stronger, and she did accomplish that. So that is one goal that she did accomplish. But other than that, what's your take on the whole Biden thing?
Well, it's logical, because normally Secretary of State, and you have someone like Joe Biden has to be given something of that stature, because he's a former vice president that often goes, for example, historically, to former presidential nominees like Kerry, Williams, Jennings, Bryan, and so forth. Really, what could you give Joe Biden that would be up to the stature of vice president? And the answer is Secretary of State. If he was a finance guy, Secretary of the Treasury, but that's about it.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more. All right, let me ask you about the WikiLeaks document. You know, John Heilman made an interesting comment today. I think it's because the media isn't explaining it. The media isn't spending the right amount of time on it. But he said that many of the WikiLeaks emails are too inside baseball, meaning too complicated, too much shop talk, for the public to really care about it and to investigate it and want to know more and have it affect their vote. What do you think, Wayne?
Well, I think if these were WikiLeaks about the Republican candidate, if you found out that Donald Trump got questions in advance of the debate with Jeb Bush and with John Kasich and with Marco Rubio, if you found out that Donald Trump coordinated in a conspiracy with the head of the RNC to rig the primary, if you found out that the head of the RNC sent emails to the president's campaign manager saying, we actually have been lying. We know how bad the economy is. It's horrible, and more people are in despair than ever before. And all the stats we give about jobs are lies because they're all crappy low-wage jobs. And that was President Trump. You'd have the biggest news headlines in America. They'd be talking about it 24 hours a day, and Trump would be forced to resign. He'd be done. He'd be finished.
Peter,
so
I kind of agree with Wayne, Peter.
Well, I think we also have to look at the other WikiLeaks that we haven't mentioned so far this morning, and that is the stuff about the monetarization of politics, the fundraising by legal consultants and so forth, folks steering business to President Clinton. You know, basically monetizing the Clintons' access and potential hold on power. It's good old-fashioned pre-Cromwell corruption in England. But, you know, we don't have to go back to Cromwell or even to India today to find that kind of corruption. We just need to go to New Jersey, one of the most corrupt states in the Union, where the mob for years has allegedly shaken down, you know, the garbage collectors and so forth and whatnot. You know, really, this is not that hard to understand. The Clintons are running a shakedown business. Give to my foundation and give Bill some speaking and consulting gigs, $650,000 an hour or whatever. You know, if you want to be viewed favorably by the next president, I mean, talk about, you know, taking gifts as constitutionally prohibited and so forth. Talk about corruption. I mean, this is downright seditious.
It is.
And the fact is, you know, it reminds me this morning, I had somebody from CNBC tell me that their reporters, you know, I was being interviewed on Trump, about Trump, because they were trying to seize on something. He said that they're not allowed to have political views. Yes, and in the real world, the bunny rabbits will come feed carrots to the unicorns, and we'll all live happily ever after.
Well, you know, along those lines, I made the mistake of watching CNN, Don Lemon, because I like to get aggravated, and he played a soundbite after the plane skidded off the runway with Mike Pence aboard yesterday here in New York. Donald Trump in Ohio alluded to it and said it was a very grave situation, but everybody's okay. And Don Lemon comes back, it wasn't that big a deal, everybody's all right. I mean, laughing at the fact that their plane skidded off the runway, and thank God no one was hurt, Wayne.
Hey,
I was doing the BBC.
Wait, let Wayne go first. Peter, let Wayne go. Go ahead, Wayne.
Well, I was just going to say, listen, I went to Columbia University with all these people. All the people I went to Columbia with, class of '83. You know, my classmate was Barack Hussein Obama, and my classmate was George Stephanopoulos. And all these people that are now in government, they're in business, they're in the Obama administration, they're in the media, and they're in the headlines all day long. And people never change. I'm the same as I was. I was the only conservative at Columbia, and I loved Ronald Reagan like a father. And today I'm a Ronald Reagan Republican. They've never changed. When I knew them, they cheered for what they thought was the assassination of Reagan. My political science class, when Reagan got shot, it was the biggest class at Columbia. I think like 280 kids in a theater in the round. And a kid ran in and screamed, "The president's been shot. They've assassinated Reagan." That was the words he used. So we naturally thought dead. And guess what the class did? Standing ovation. So if you think they'd be upset if Pence's plane went off the runway and Mike got hurt or killed, trust me when I tell you, these are not nice people. They play nice people on TV. Not one of them is nice.
Peter, how's the University of Maryland doing?
Well, the University of Maryland sort of tolerates me, but I've been punished over the years for being conservative, but that's really not important. You know, the other day I was doing the debate, a pre-debate show over at the BBC, and they had on a Clinton surrogate, about 30 years old, a young woman. And the body language and the treatment, she had been on with me once before, was as if she was being forced to sit in a studio with a rapist. She kind of viewed me in those terms. She viewed me as not someone who disagreed with her, but someone who was immoral to the point that I'd committed bad things. I mean, I don't know what the heck I ever did to deserve that for just thinking differently. You see, I've got a terrible burden in life. I went to humble Plattsburgh State College on the shores of Lake Champlain. And up there, we had liberals, we had conservatives, but we learned something that they just don't teach in the Ivy League: tolerance.
Yeah, well, that word is gone. All right, let me ask you something Karl Rove brought up. And he said that Donald Trump is banking on the missing 5 million. Barack Obama won by about 5 million votes, a little under 5 million votes over Romney. And he says that's because there were 24 million white men with no higher education that did not vote. And that if Donald Trump could get, a quarter of those to come out now and have them motivated to vote, it could change the landscape. What do you say, Wayne?
Well, I wrote the book behind me, Angry White Male, and the whole book is about that fact. And I'm telling you, I know that Peter disagrees with me, and probably 99% of the media disagrees. You all think that Donald's probably in a lot of trouble and probably going to lose. I can't tell you how much I disagree. As a matter of fact, the only poll that showed him down by 12, the ABC poll came out this morning.
It's now 4.
It's now 4.
Yeah.
He's going to win. I'm telling you, he's got all the momentum, and he's going to win. And it's going to be because of angry white males. It's going to be because of millions of white voters, not just males, females, white voters are coming out by the millions that did not come out in prior elections. They were never going to come out for Ted Cruz. They were never coming out for Jeb Bush. In the end, as flawed as Donald is, and he is certainly a flawed candidate, a lot of things about him are a little strange to traditional politicians, he's the only one that could have brought out working class white people who make under $40,000 a year. Donald is going to win this election.
Peter, I know you do disagree, so go ahead.
Yeah, but I prefer to disagree for myself and not have words put in my mouth by the other panelists. If he got the 5 million, that would help. But the trouble is it's not the Romney situation. Romney did much better among educated white females, educated females generally, among Hispanics than Trump is doing. I don't buy the notion that the polls are that off. The polls that failed in the primaries were thin polls. That is where they were intermittent and we didn't have a lot. When we have a lot of polls pointing mostly in the same direction, the confidence interval or the error factor goes down. I think that Trump is going to have a disruptive event in the next 5 days. He probably got it with the influence peddling and buying that WikiLeaks has revealed,
Right.
but the liberal media won't let it out.
Right.
In the end of the day, Hillary Clinton's best ally is not Barack Obama or Joe Biden. It's the people that run the New York Times.
Yeah, well, that goes without saying. All right, guys, thank you very much. Have a great weekend. Wayne and Peter, appreciate it very, very much. All right, folks, Trump says the media doesn't cover him fairly. Well, that goes without saying, but it's no surprise then when Megyn Kelly squared off with Newt Gingrich the other night that media members take the side of the left in that conflict. And that would be, of course, Megyn Kelly. Tim Graham from the Media Research Center shows us an example of that on Malzberg's Media Madness. Don't go away.